And we are live once again. Welcome to Exploring Star Trek Discovery. I am Average Joe, the Average Geek, your host, and with me, as always, are Kevin Stallings and Will Smith, my bridge crew, so to speak. What's going on, fellas?
Not too much.
Another day in paradise.
Yes, paradise. That's what it is. A bit of Isil. The USS Paradise.
I believe the Romulans call it Votavor.
Damn Romulans. So what's going on, fellas?
Oh, a lot of interesting stuff coming out about Discovery.
Yes,
Seems like on the daily. So
definitely on the daily. And speaking on the daily news, let's go ahead and start our discussion. Before we get into the meat and bones of this discussion with the TVMA, so controversial. Let's talk about the theme that was released today. Holy crap, guys! How good was that?
oh, really harking back to the original series and a few bars there, but it stood out on its own, and I thought that was amazing how they did it.
Yeah, it was fantastic. What'd you think, Kevin?
I loved it. It was I love how it starts out, and it's similar. You know, it's similar to the original series.
Yeah, those little notes. Bing, boom. Yeah.
And then it moves into music, and then it finishes up. You know, similar to the original series again.
It was very dynamic. You can definitely tell that the show is going to have an action flavor to it, which is super rad.
Oh yeah.
There we go. Making sure all my stuff is set properly. There we go. Yeah, I can't wait. It was a great little. For those that didn't see it, it was a wonderful little featurette that was released today by CBS that showed the composer. I can't remember his name. Please let us know below because I dropped the ball on that. Good host. Good host. But a little featurette of him talking about how it was his lifelong dream, and here he is getting that fateful call to score a Star Trek series. And then we got our taste of the opening theme, which, so much better than Enterprise's theme. The little pop song. I got faith of the heart.
Yeah, we definitely didn't need that one again.
I applaud what Enterprise was doing with that, but no, never do that again.
And changing it up with a couple extra beats in the later seasons didn't help out at all.
No, they probably should have just scrapped it. Like around the time that they put Star Trek onto the title, as opposed to just Enterprise, they should have scrapped the theme song and just gone with an orchestral.
Oh yeah.
But that's 10 years ago now, so it doesn't really matter.
Wow.
That was a long time ago. I can't. God, that series. Yeah, man, it's been 11 years since Enterprise went off the air.
Man,
Something like that. Yeah.
It's been a hot minute.
really, yeah.
But I really loved how the Discovery theme was very, very percussion heavy. You know, it definitely had the sense of war. Very similar to Deep Space Nine's theme in a lot of ways, especially because we know the Discovery is going to be doing the Klingon War, and this is going to be probably a much more action-packed Trek than we're used to. And the theme definitely belies that. I can't wait to actually see the opening credit sequence. I get goose every time I watch an old episode of Trek, regardless of whatever series it is. I get the goosebumps during the opening sequence. I think my favorite was Voyager.
Oh yeah,
Like
that was a good one.
So what was y'all's favorite opening credit sequence for a show?
I think my favorite opening was probably TNG after probably the second season when they redid it and reshot it. looked a little bit more accurate.
Right.
Yeah.
How about you, Kevin?
Mine was probably Deep Space Nine once they added the Defiant into the opening credit.
Oh yeah. Tough little ship.
Little.
Here we go. Prepare for ramming speed. No, I was definitely digging the Discovery theme. I can't wait to hear a little bit more of that. I've listened to it like 4 or 5 times since then, and I'm very good. Very good. They got it right. Which was awesome. Hi,
Yep.
Pat says in chat, he says, "What's up, guys? What's up, Pat? Sorry you couldn't make it tonight, man." So, all right, let's see. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes of today's show. TVMA for mature audiences only. Parental discretion advised. Dun, dun, dun. And you can hear the pitchforks marching down now. So, what do you think the TVMA is going to bring differently to Discovery? Is it going to change Trek away from what it was in the past? No. Spoiler alert, no. Is it going to mean that all of a sudden I can't watch it with my kids? What is the TVMA going to change about Trek? What do you think, guys?
It's really hard to tell at this point. I mean, pretty much a lot of the most popular shows are TVMA anyway, so it could basically be anything. I'm not very sure there's going to be nudity, but
chances are minimal.
Yeah, very minimal. Yeah, probably a little bit more adult language, more than likely. Maybe even a couple of F-bombs. Who knows? I don't know.
Ooh.
But,
see, Captain Gabriel Lorca will get off my fucking ship.
yeah.
I can't say I would be opposed to hearing that at least once. Like, that'd be so different.
Right.
So I'm sitting here and I'm looking at, okay, so TVMA, here's the official classification for TVMA from, the TV Ratings Bureau, whatever those people are, the bureaucrats. It says TVMA, this program is specifically designed to be viewed by adults and therefore may not be unsuitable for children under 17. Some content may be unsuitable for children under 17 years old. So I think we're looking at a little language. I think it is primarily probably because the new focus on action that the show is going to have. I think we're going to see a little bit more visceral action than we have in previous Trek shows. We're going to get a little language in it, but it's not going to be anything crazy. They're not going to be, throwing, the S-bomb and the F-bomb every 5 minutes. It's not going to be an episode of South Park.
Or a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Or Quentin Tarantino movie. Although Quentin Tarantino's version of Star Trek would be pretty interesting.
It would.
See that? Yeah. It probably also means you're going to actually probably see blood when somebody gets cut with a batleth.
Yeah, I think that might be it. The Klingons are galaxy-renowned melee fighters. They have some of the most bloodthirsty weapons in the entire Star Trek universe. I think they're the only real species that has, stuck around the sword traditions of the past, with their melee weapons. Not many species do that. At least not that I can remember.
Yeah, I can't remember any others either. I think it might mean we're actually going to get to see the Klingons be Klingons and be violent.
Yeah, imagine that. Oh yeah, I think it's going to be cool. I think we're going to see. That's probably the real reason why the shows getting the TVMA is because of the action sequences involved. Even the stuff that we've seen in the trailer of the ship-to-ship actions have a very different vibe than what we saw in the series of old. They're much more cinematic. They're probably closer to the battles we've seen in, dare I say, the J.J. Abrams Trekverse, the Kelvin timeline. Some of the stuff we saw in the Next Generation films. All of that now, since the graphical fidelity and the ability of CGI and everything has got so much better, and the ability to do it has become so much cheaper, we're getting this cinematic quality to these battles on the small screen, which makes them a lot
even
more.
When what's her name? Sequoia Martin Green, when she was on CBS this morning, the commentators were like, "Wow, I can't believe it actually looks like a movie." So,
yeah, because
you're
it
absolutely
really
right.
does. And I'm really digging how they're doing the long form storytelling now as opposed to just the episodic stories, because they are able to get into these more thematic stories, where like stories like The Inner Light and on Next Generation, where it's one of the most powerful episodes of Star Trek, but it's self-contained within 45 minutes, and it doesn't really go elsewhere beyond that 45 minutes. We're getting these longer form stories now, which means you can get much deeper into the mature themes these kinds of episodes could possibly portray. And I think that's where the TVMA is coming from. And I really don't think it's going to be all of a sudden I can't watch it with my kid, which a lot of people were afraid of. It's just going to be, it just kind of shows, how much they can get into the story now, the way they can depict the story now, because TV has changed. Everything's changed since the last time Trek was on TV. The nature of storytelling on television has changed. The quality of television has changed dramatically, as well as, honestly, the content you can put on television has changed dramatically since then. Like if you watch FX, like I was watching American Horror Story the other night, the American Horror Story premiere on FX, and that show premieres at like 10 p.m., something like that. And they dropped an F-bomb on cable TV. I'm like, whoa! Like I cuss like a sailor, so it doesn't bother me. But hearing it on cable TV, I was like, oh, okay. Like content really has changed.
Yes, it has.
Television.
Yeah. George Carlin, like 20 years ago, had that list of words you can't say on TV.
Yeah, you can say all of them now. Nobody cares. Like fart was on that list. Like 20 years ago, you couldn't say the word fart on TV. So it's interesting. And just as all things have to adapt, Star Trek has to adapt as well. So it's going to be nice to get these kind of more mature stories, these TV MA stories, so to speak.
I'm actually curious if they're actually going to show what the Vulcan Pon farr ritual really is.
See, right there, like Aussie NF watching the show right now says more boobies in Star Trek. That's what we need, LMAO. And that's hard to argue with. Pat goes blood, lots of blood, violence, and boobs. See, it's all about the violence and boobs. Like,
girls, and everybody will be happy.
Right. I don't think that's going to happen. But with a TVMA and on a streaming service, I guess the possibility is there.
Now, Bound Chicka, highly logical.
Right. Well, Pat makes a good point in chat. He says Star Trek Discovery is on a streaming service, so the sky is the limit of pushing how far they can go. Now, just because you can, we got to remember the story of Icarus. You might be able to fly to the sun, which is all well and good, but you got to worry about the consequences of when you get there. Is there a chance that through the TVMA that they are going to alienate their audience and maybe push people away. Even though we know it's not going to be F-bombs and nudity and drug use and all these kinds of problems. But do you think they still run the risk of alienating some viewership?
I don't think so. I think they've got enough people, they hired a whole group of people to make sure everything stays in line with canon. So I think they're gonna keep it pretty close to the original values of Star Trek. I don't think that what they do. The TVMA is going to be on the periphery. I don't think it's going to be like the main hardcore, meat and potatoes of the show.
Right. What you think, Will?
Well, I feel like if you're a Star Trek fan, then you're going to watch it just because it's Star Trek, regardless of what rating it is. Whether it's an R rating, if it was a movie and it was R rating, or if it's a TVMA, you're going to watch it, regardless. I don't think it's really going to alienate anyone, because heck, I mean, you see more blood and guts on the news, than anything else. I mean, you hear stuff like that all the time, and it's just the way things are, and when you're in, of course, with a lot of movies people watch nowadays, I mean, there's a lot more, like I said, blood and guts, and, you take that and you put it into a small screen format, you're like, well, this is rather tame. I mean, it could be pretty much blown out of proportion for all we know. So I really don't think it's going to alienate anybody.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think it's compared to a show like, Breaking Bad or American Horror Story or The Walking Dead or Preacher or any of the other mainstream shows out there that have that TVMA rating. I think it's going to be relatively tame compared to those. I really, really do. Because Trek's never been about that stuff. Has Trek the capability of being edgy? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, Captain Picard, I mean, he might not have done it on the TV series, but he has that capability to let loose, some choice wording occasionally.
Yeah,
I can imagine it. His this conversation with Lily in the captain's ready room in First Contact, where he's like, "This far, no farther." I could just see him going, "This far, never fuck again."
Yeah, and here's another thing we have to realize too, is that one of the things that I didn't like when they were, when the producers was discussing the show, they're like, "Oh, we're going to push, Trek way out there. We're going to introduce some stuff that you've never seen before, things that may make you feel a little uncomfortable." But here's the thing: I think that was the terrible, terrible thing for them to say. But you got to understand the fact that on all these other shows, they just did it. They pushed envelopes before, like the first lesbian kiss on DS9. It just happened, and
Right.
then people just kind of accepted it, And especially with the interracial kiss back in the '60s. I mean, it just happened. They never ever promoted oh yeah, we're going to do something edgy this week. They just did it because it's all about social commentary, and that's what Trek's all about. It's about being unified regardless of what your differences are. So, I personally don't think that they should ever have mentioned that, oh yeah, we're going to do something new. Oh, we're going to have this first gay character. We should, just do it. Just do it. You don't announce it, just do it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. It's like, what's the old saying? It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Right.
Yeah, just do it, and you deal with the consequences later. If you're going to do these edgy stories and tell these edgy characters, or have the first openly gay character on a Star Trek show, which again, who gives a shit? If Trekkies are so far beyond caring about that it doesn't feel like it's something that you should advertise. You should just do it, and fans are going to be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, cool, there, man, awesome." Next, is he a good character? Awesome, great, cool.
Yeah.
that's all that really matters in that situation. So I do understand them in the effort of, again, because they're not just trying to get. If it was just Trekkies watching the show, it would doomed for failure right from the start. It has to bring everybody on board. So I don't have a problem with them necessarily having the news articles saying, "Hey, this isn't your granddad's Trek." You know, it's got some bite to it. It's got some punch to it to kind of bring in people that were kind of on the fence about watching it, or people that are like, "Oh, it's just a vanilla show. There's nothing hard hitting. There's nothing edgy about it. There's no real reason to watch other than it's just going to be a boring sci-fi show." Which, I mean, I think we've pretty much decided that we don't believe that whatsoever. That it's going to be exciting. It's going to be some top-notch Trek entertainment. So it's getting that balancing point between edge versus traditional Trek. You know, as you said before, you know, Trek's always been cutting edge of things. The original series did things that were not just unheard of on TV, but things that were just unheard of in society. Like you don't talk about interracial relationships. We know they happen because humans, but we don't talk about it. You know, to DS9, it's like, oh my God, the first lesbian kiss on TV. Oh. And, you know, you get people freaking out and shutting down and all that kind of stuff, which didn't happen because, you know, people. You know, the internet is an amazing place. The internet weaponizes and magnifies butthurt.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Going back to the original series, not just the first interracial kiss, but think about it. Chekhov, he was a Russian character on an American sci-fi show.
In the height of the Cold War.
Yeah.
Cold War, yeah.
We were like 5 minutes away from nuking the shit out of each other.
Right. Yeah, and even, you know,
Yeah,
I mean, I think, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, and here's this guy he's Russian, and he's a bridge officer. He's one of the, you know, the senior staff of the Enterprise. That's pretty cutting edge to me.
Oh, absolutely. So what kind of things do you think, so we know that Trek has always, you know, cut new ground and done these edgy stories. At least, you know, DS9 did them. Next Generation definitely did them. And the original series became famous because of them. Voyager, not so much. Voyager was kind of played it safe quite a bit.
Right.
But how do you think, what is Discovery going to bring that's new to the plate? Not just in terms of language or potential violence or, you know, the hard-hitting, the visceral nature of the combat that we've already seen. Like, so what can Discovery do to bring that old school Trek edge to the plate?
Oh, well, I believe what they should do is what the original series did, just address the issues that are going on at the time and put into a story, like the half black, half white alien race. One was white on one side, one was black on the other, and the other guy was flipped around, you know, and you know, that was very subtle, but you knew exactly what they were talking about. Pretty much have a I don't know. I mean, there's a ton of stuff that they can do a commentary on that's going on in today's world. Immigration, for one. I mean, they could you know, roll that all up into an episode. Evil dictators trying to, you know, destroy. I mean, that's a classic one there that can apply to any any genre really there. So yeah, I just really think just basically just, you know, social commentary, anything that's going on in today's society.
Like the repealing of the United Federation of Planets DACA statutes.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Just have millions of displaced Romulan dreamers.
or have an orange-faced alien that's threatening to deport people. I mean, it could be anything.
Oh God, I hope not. Say it again, Kevin. Your audio was kind of cutting out.
Oh, he'd if they have an orange-faced alien, wouldn't he be a Ferengi?
Oh yeah. If I don't want to,
Right.
I don't want to get too far into that. But if Donald Trump was a Star Trek character, he would be the Grand Negus.
It
Pretty
would be
much.
great. That would be the greatest Grand Negus you'd ever see. Believe me, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
Be huge. Huge, I
It'll
tell
be
you.
huge.
All
Yes,
the
you can
gold-
ask any Ferengis. They're friends of mine. Believe me, it's gonna be great.
See, I think Discovery has a lot of potential to tell some very interesting stories. And one of the things the producers came out over the past week is that they are, taking influence from the current divisiveness of our climate now. Where you have to pick a side. You're either on the A team or the B team. And you know what? Screw that other team. And which is just insane and jingoistic and cultish and not a true reflection of reality. But the internet. The internet just magnifies these things.
Yeah. That's just Star Trek doing what Star Trek does best, and which is, hold up a mirror to society and say, hey, take a look.
Absolutely. And it's not just Star Trek. That's
Yeah.
what good science fiction does.
Yeah.
That is what sci-fi always does. It's like, this is the way the world is now. And it takes it and it puts it in this mirror or this lens of future tech and future society. And it forces us to look at where we're at now through that lens. And Star Trek has always been great at that. The best science fiction does that. I mean, look at the stories of Robert Heinlein, the stories of Gene Roddenberry, the stories of George Lucas, Philip K. Dick, Isaac Asimov, like you name it. Like those great stories force us to look at our society now through the lens of the future, and maybe it guides us to a better path. So that's what I think, anyway. As an old school golden era sci-fi fan, like the best science fiction the best era of science fiction was the 50s, 60s, and 70s. That is the golden age of sci-fi, and that is the golden age of sci-fi that Star Trek was born in.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, yeah, I think Discovery's got a lot of potential to really, force us to examine our society, and that's what the United Federation of Planets and Starfleet has always been about. It is the unattainable utopia. This socialistic paradise that will never exist, kind of idea.
Yeah.
But it is a goal to attain, to try to reach. The point in which humanity is wholly scientific. Where humanity has reached that point where, due to replicator technology, like all needs are met.
Right. And I'm thinking, was it First Contact? Picard was talking about the economics of the future were different. That they didn't use the money that they used. They use their skills to better themselves. That because that was their purpose, was to better themselves.
Yeah, and it seemed like, oh yeah, right, kind of at the time, especially from Lily's perspective, because in First Contact, that was the interesting part about the Lily characters, that Lily played us. Lily was the Star Trek fan. Lily was the audience. The normal kind of non-technological, plebeian brought up into this grand future society. She was absolutely the Trekkie.
Right. Yeah.
In that movie. And it definitely, like I said, it's that lens through which we view the future and view, you know, what humanity can become. Because it'd be awesome if humanity could reach that point. Is it impossible in a society of finite resources? Oh, absolutely. But when you can take raw matter and reconstitute it into a pair of underwear or food or whatever you need, that paradigm changes. All of a sudden it doesn't become the competition for resources that has determined all life on Earth, from the lowest bacteria all the way to us. That's what has driven evolution on this planet, is that competition for resources. So through fantastical technology, we reach a point where that is no longer necessary. Would we be able to focus on scientific and exploratory endeavors? Would we be able to improve ourselves in a way that we can't now? It's a little rambly, but I think y'all got my point.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, definitely. I think so. Yeah, I think we could. If given the, we have to remember, even before the advent of the replicator, which wasn't really around until the time of Next Generation, even in the time of the original series, they had achieved this, this utopian society. Now, granted, they still had access to asteroids to mine and other planets to cultivate crops and all that on, but so they still had access to a whole lot more resources than we do now.
Yeah, because that's really what it is. It's the competition for resources.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what drives 90% of the conflict on this planet. So, maybe one day in the future we'll figure it out. It's not going to be in our lifetimes.
No, definitely not.
But I hope Discovery continues to discuss these themes. To really, why humanity is able to explore the stars. Why it's important for the USS Discovery to actually go out and discover. To broaden our horizons. Especially now in our society where everything just seems to be so very close-minded. Where everything is so very adversarial, where you don't think like me, so you must be destroyed. And that's on both sides of the political spectrum. If you don't think exactly like me, you need to shut up and be destroyed. And that is just no way to advance as a society. And it's going to be very interesting to see the United Federation of Planets, which has always been, the forefront of that idea, versus a species like the Klingons, who apparently in this time frame is the exact opposite of that idea. Now, we talked about, the other day on the whole canon episode about what was the event that took the Klingons from Archer's interaction with the Klingons and the 2150s to the Klingons now. What happened there? And it's going to be interesting to see what maybe pushed them to the fringes once again, to push them back to their violent roots. Was there an event? Was there a cataclysm? Was it an economic downturn or a resource struggle, or maybe just some good old-fashioned religious zealotry? Oh, you're not the true followers of Kahless. We're the true followers of Kahless. Now you must be beheaded, kind of idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I really hope they explore that, because there is that defined difference, at least from what we've seen in the trailers. Now, this could be wrong, but it does seem to be that defined difference in the cultures of the 2150s Klingons, which is the last time we saw the species, to now in the 2250s. I mean, it's only been a century, but a lot can happen in a century. You know, and they might
Yeah.
change again in the intervening century between Discovery and Next Generation. Maybe there's another cultural shift that takes us to the Klingon lineages and the Klingon times of Martok and going into the Klingon Civil War of the future. I don't know. It's definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
ZNF says like Archer is like 180 years old. I don't think Archer is alive now in the time of Discovery.
No.
No, you probably live to be about 120.
Yeah.
Because that seems to be about the maximum human lifespan in Star Trek. But he's probably long dead. Probably by about 50 years, maybe 60 years.
Probably, yeah.
So
for some reason I had this idea that maybe he. Okay, I was thinking maybe he may have gotten so old to where he actually did see the launch of the Enterprise because who was it? McCoy stayed for the Enterprise D, so maybe lifespans have increased by that much by that time. So who knows?
Ozzy NF in chat says that according to Star Trek Online, which is a non-canon but a decent little source of information nevertheless, he passed away long before the age of 120. Which is kind of sad because he's like the founder of the Federation.
Right.
Without Archer, there would be no Federation.
Pretty much,
True.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Scott Bakula's great.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping for a Quantum Leap reboot at some time in the future with Bakula on board. Because that just needs to happen. If we're rebooting everything, let's just have a reunion series of Quantum Leap. Just like one 10-episode run. Let's just do it. Just needs to happen. Yeah, I just had this idea now. Now I'm going to be obsessed with the idea of a Quantum Leap reboot run. It's one of the greatest science fiction shows of all time.
Yes. Oh boy.
I watched it, yeah.
So, yeah, that's that's pretty much all I got to say about the TVMA thing. So let's switch gears a little bit. Okay. Did y'all watch The Orville?
Yeah.
How about you, Will? Did you watch The Orville?
No, I haven't. I have it in my queue right now. Planning on watching it in the next couple of days or so.
Ozzy NF has a good point. He says that T'Pol should still be alive. That would make sense, Klingons and all, or Klingons, Vulcans. Jesus. But yeah, The Orville. I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed the first episode. Was it rough? Oh yeah. Was it hit or miss? Yeah, it was hit or miss. But there were some really great things in it.
Yeah.
Ship design is top notch.
Yeah.
Alien design is fantastic. And it's got a really kind of fun Galaxy Quest kind of vibe to it. I enjoyed it. Like the first episode was a little rough, but I'm hoping that subsequent episodes will improve.
Yeah, it's got potential. If people give it a chance, I think it'll improve. I think they need to stop showing all the funny parts in the trailers and the TV spots.
Yeah, that was definitely a problem with the pilot.
Yeah, the one thing I noticed that kind of got a little tiresome to me was every time they would fire their weapon, they always struck that same pose. Yeah, pretty much that pose. Yeah.
What it reminds me of? Reminds me of the Next Generation class firing the Type 2 phasers.
Yeah.
How you can only fire a Type 2 phaser like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
There's no other pose you could take and fire a Type 2 phaser.
That's exactly what. Yeah, and maybe that's what they were going for.
Maybe.
Yes.
It was definitely a love letter to Star Trek.
Oh yeah.
I heard I read somewhere that they actually had a little nod to the cage in the Orville. I don't know if y'all had caught on to that or not, or seen anything that was referencing the cage.
If they did, I missed it.
Yeah, they said basically it was them actually going into the bridge from the outside of the ship.
Yes.
Or something like that.
Yes, there was a in the big hero, because you know in all these sci-fi stories when you've got a spaceship, you got to have the big hero shots of it leaving space dock.
Oh yeah.
Because it has to happen. That's how you get people to love the ship. It's just like, God, look at that ship. It's gorgeous. But yeah, they did the big pan around over the top of the ship, and you could see in the glass bubble above the bridge of the people inside from above the ship. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay.
There's definitely some really good design choices.
Oh yeah, and the characters actually seem pretty interesting too.
Yeah, I mean they're goofy comedy characters. They don't have a whole lot of depth to them yet. But Captain Eckard, he's really cool. I can only imagine the pain of having to serve with your ex-wife as your first officer.
Yeah.
That would just be the most painful thing on the planet. And then you wouldn't even be able to escape the planet to escape it. She could be right there beside you on your journey into the stars.
That would be good. I actually think they did a good job of playing up that awkwardness.
Oh, they did. They did. There was definitely, like I said, there was definitely some really good things to enjoy about the Orville. I'm looking forward to episode 2. Yeah, I didn't hate it like most of the internet did, apparently. Of course, there are just some places on the internet that is cancer. And I feel like IO9, Gizmodo, places like that, they're pretty much the internet version of cancer.
Yeah.
It's like they wouldn't get any clicks, they wouldn't get any views if they just didn't hate everything.
Even the Nerdist at times is pretty terrible.
Sometimes
because they kind of give like their opinions like their facts, and it's not. I don't like that.
Yeah, because like opinions are like anuses. Everyone has one, and some smell worse than others.
Right.
And it seems like sometimes that you can't get anybody. Like, you post a positive review about something, you get X number of clicks. You post a negative review of something, you get X to the third power clicks. Which can be very frustrating when you're posting reviews of something that you enjoyed. Because nobody wants to read, everybody loves an echo chamber. And if everybody hated it, you feel like you got to hate it too. Because my opinion's validated. Everybody hated this. And then you got that one guy over there and it's like, hey, it wasn't that bad. I think I posted the only positive review of Netflix's Death Note on YouTube.
Then you'll be the only one that I've ever seen that posted a positive review, because everywhere else was negative.
Yeah. I was like,
they're like lemmings.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I'll be fine. I'll be the only guy to enjoy something and tell people that I enjoyed it. Does that mean it was perfect? No. But does that mean it was a steaming pile of dog excrement? No. But that's the internet. That's the world we live in right now.
And I'm still trying to find that one person who thinks that TNG episode Shades of Grey was good.
I don't think that person exists.
No.
Yeah, that's the one where Riker had all the flashbacks, right?
Yeah, the bottled show, yeah.
Yeah. Or Spock's brain from the original series getting a positive review. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, no.
Because even in this world, there are universal truths. And sometimes, universal truth is a universal truth. And like Shades of Grey and Spock's brain are horrible episodes. Almost like the episode. It's like finding somebody that enjoyed the episode of Voyager when they broke the warp 10 threshold and turned into giant salamanders.
Yeah,
because that makes sense.
That one, yeah.
So there's just certain things that we don't discuss. We don't discuss Janeway and Paris turning into salamanders and having salamander babies. We don't talk about Spock's brain. We don't talk about the 2016 reboot of Ghostbusters. There's just certain things that we don't discuss.
Or Trek 5.
Or Trek 5. We just don't talk about it. Because why would God need a starship?
Really?
Why would Uhura standing on a cliff top doing a fan dance have anything whatsoever to do with the plot? There's just things we don't talk about.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, Pat has a really good point. There's always one episode in every show that we just don't discuss. And that episode in DS9. That episode in DS9 is when God, which one was it? It was one of the Grand Nagus episodes.
The one where Quark switches genders?
That's it. That's the one. That's the
one.
Yeah,
saying exactly what you were talking about. Yeah. Had to be the Ferengi episode.
Yeah.
Oh God. So Spock's brain in the original series, Shades of Grey in the Next Generation, the gender bent Quark in Deep Space Nine, and the salamander babies of Voyager.
Voyager, yeah. And it's really bad. I like the Ferengi. The Ferengi are good comic relief. Come on.
Okay.
I dare.
If you have an episode of Quark, if you have Quark being a foil of the DS9 crew, it's a good episode. If you have interactions between Quark and Rom and Nog, that's a pretty good episode because you're having the family dynamic, but a family dynamic that is just completely different than the rest of the crew. So it gives a different lens to view things on the space station. But any episode where other Ferengi are involved, it's horrible. Like the episode of Next Generation when the Ferengi fell in love with Loxana Troy. Can we just take that episode and throw it in a trash compactor, please? Let's just pretend it doesn't exist.
That one was pretty bad, I'll grant you. But I challenge you. Find an episode of...
Pat says, don't get me started.
No, I'll tell you another bad one is Next Generation Sub Rosa when Dr. Crusher's having psychic sex with the ghost of her dead grandmother's boyfriend.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
But,
oh, God.
I challenge you. Watch the Deep Space Nine episode titled The Magnificent Ferengi.
No. I skip all the Ferengi episodes of DS9. I'm going through Netflix. I feel like watching Deep Space Nine. It says, in this episode, the Ferengi. Nope. In this episode, the Ferengi. Nope. In this episode, the Bajorans. Nope.
I had to go through every single episode, regardless of how ridiculous it was or not. But I had to go through it, and so should you. It's a part of the experience.
No, I did. I've watched them the first time. I will never watch them again.
Okay, one time is enough.
But I pretty much skip the first 3.5 seasons of DS9 on every playthrough. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go through and watch every episode of Trek again. I mean, I've watched every episode of The Next Generation, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 25 times. Every episode of Voyager, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 times. I've, like, the second half of DS9, 5, 10, 15, 20 times. those first 3 seasons are just not that good. Like, if it has anything to do with the Bajorans, I can't. If there's anything to do with the Ferengi, I really, really can't. But that's just me.
I'll give you the first 2 seasons.
Okay, that's fair. I can meet that compromise.
But yeah, just watch the Magnificent Ferengi. It's Quark, Rom, and Nog trying to rescue their mother from the Dominion. It's actually funny.
I'll have to go back and watch that episode just for you, Kevin.
I'll just say it's like the Magnificent Seven, and a Gene Wilder company of errors.
That is a hell of a description, sir.
That's the way I can think of it.
It's like the Seven Samurai meet the Magnificent Seven, meet Gene Wilder and Blazing Saddles on a space station. Oh yeah. All right. Well, we're just rambling away right now. Another great episode, guys. Guys, guess what? We are 2 weeks away. Not even 2 weeks, like a week and a half. On Sunday the 24th, we're going to get the premiere. We're going to get a double episode on the 24th, and I want to be right here, right that evening, talking about it, giving our review, giving our discussion. I'm hoping for the best, but we got to prepare for the worst, which I don't think is going to happen, but that's okay.
It's not going to be bad.
No, I think we're in for an amazing treat. I really do. And of course, fanboy hype, whatever. It looks really good. And the getting the theme score today just set my hype level to just insane levels. So
I don't want to go back and have that. See, I want to take a stance of where I want to try to like it, but I'm not going to get my hopes up because the last time I did that was Star Wars Episode 1, and after that I can't do that. I can't allow myself to be super psyched anymore about anything sci-fi.
I get that. I keep tell myself very similar things, and yet I allow myself to get stupid hyped about things anyway. So, we got some really cool Star Wars news today that, it's a discussion for another time, but J.J. Abrams is back for Episode 9. So, like I said, that's a different show. It's a different show. It's okay. We can talk about different shows. Different discussions. It's all right. We're equal opportunity geeks here.
Right, exactly.
Speaking of being equal opportunity geeks, been a great discussion, guys. Like I said, every week, I love talking about this stuff with you. Thank you. So any final thoughts on the primary focus of today's episode, which was the TVMA rating? Any final thoughts?
People shouldn't freak out over it. It's not going to be that bad. It might actually be a good thing.
Yeah, probably will. So, all right, fellas. Another great show. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. If you like this episode, please give it a thumbs up. It helps us move up the almighty YouTube algorithm for every thumbs up you give the episode. So, do it, please. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. I am planning a giveaway for when we reach the 100 subscribers mark. So subscribe to the channel. Make sure your subscriptions are set to public so I can actually see that you're subscribed to the channel. And then we'll see what happens. Nice little giveaway going into the future. I'll have more announcements about that to come soon, especially as we get closer to that goal. So yeah, my name is Average Joe, the Average Geek. Thank you very much for watching. And of course, I have my consummate bridge crew with me, Kevin Stallings and Will Smith. And we will talk to you at the same time next week as we get closer. Thank you for watching Exploring Star Trek Discovery. Live long and prosper.